Hello, my name is Samuel Black, and this is my digital whiteboard presentation for Columbus State University's Dr. Moore's Technology and Fusion class. The title of my whiteboard presentation is called The American Revolution in 15 Minutes, or as many of us know it as the War for Independence. The first thing we're going to do is look at some of the causes of the war. In this slide is entitled, What Were the Initial Causes of the War? And we can see here with the date that this war lasted between 1874 to 1763. The French and Indian War, or the 7-Year War, as most of us know it, is a war that was given its name because, as we read here in the caption on this particular slide, it says the name French and Indian War is used mainly in the United States and referred to the main enemies of the British colonies, the Royal French forces and the various indigenous forces with them. I often teach my students, or everybody should also realize, those of you who are listening to me out there in my audience, that it was not France fighting against the indigenous Native Americans, but it was France fighting with the indigenous Native Americans, or the Red Stick Indians as they are known, because many of the indigenous Native Americans thought that if they would assist France and if France was to overthrow Britain, then they would be able to keep and occupy the land that was being taken away from them by the settlers. The next slide says the effects of the French and Indian War. At the peace conference in 1763, the British received Canada from France and Florida from Spain, but permitted France to keep its West Indian sugar islands and gave Louisiana to Spain. The treaty strengthened the American colonists significantly by removing their European rivals to the north and south and opening the Mississippi Valley to the westward expansion. So we see here that the effects of this war basically, let's move down a couple of slides here. The effects of this war basically allowed some of the countries to gain territory and some of the countries to lose territory. And this is further strengthening the causes of the American Revolution. Let's do a quick review here. How did this war affect the relationship between American colonists and Britain? Now, on the right side of this slide, we have a short passage of reading that gives us reasons of exactly why the relationship between American colonists and Britain was strained. So let's go over here to our board here, and let's pull down our menu board, and let's get a highlighter, because we're going to highlight a few things here in our passage. Over here, we can also change the colors of the highlighter that we want to use. For our sake here, let's use this green color here, this teal lime green color. And then we just move this back up. Okay, we don't choose the teal, and let's move this back up here, our drop down menu. Okay, we'll choose this color, light blue, because there seems to be some technical difficulty, but that's okay. So, for time's sake, let's underline our answer. It says here that English leaders who were not satisfied, so let's underline this, they were not satisfied with the financial help they had received from the colonists during the war. So this caused tension. And we can come over here and change our color, drop down menu, a marker. Let's choose green. So we see that here in our highlighted version class that they were not satisfied with financial and military help. So on this line here, let's have a student come to the board and let's write on the board one reason: financial. Very good. Financial, because we understand that in order to have a war, wars can be very expensive to a particular country or to all of the countries that were involved. And also, when we talk about military here, we talk about manpower. They felt like the colonists did not provide them with manpower, resources, and supplies necessary for them to win the war. Even though Great Britain won the war, they felt like it could have been a little bit more tolerable, a little bit more of an easier campaign had they got more assistance from the colonists. Let's move further in our presentation. Let me move these other slides up so we're ready. So we see here it says what was English or Britain's response to the colonists. It says here, let's do our reading. With French removed from North America, the vast interior of the continent lay open for Americans to colonize. But the English government decided otherwise, to induce a controlled population movement, that is, a royal proclamation of 1763 that prohibited settlers west of the line drawn along the crest of the Allegheny Mountains, and to enforce that measure, they authorized permanent armies or 10,000 regular paid by taxes gathered from, most importantly, the Sugar Act and the Stamp Act. So what we see here is we're going to continue to use lime green. This red line, which is I am outlining with my lime green line, is everybody paying attention? Very good. And then we're going to shade in this particular area right here. So it said that even though France was defeated by Britain, the colonists had access to all of this land west of the Allegheny, or today it is known as the Appalachian Mountains, but they wanted to control the population. So they set up 10,000 soldiers within and without these borders, 10,000 within and without these borders to keep the colonists in. And this was paid for by the Stamp Act and by the Sugar Act. And this is very important because this caused tension between the colonists and Great Britain. This tension led to these two events. Let me move my picture up. I apologize. Let me move my picture up. So we see here as a result of it, it's called taxation without representation. Let's go over this one since I had it down. The first one here is called the Boston Tea Party. Matter of fact, the Boston Tea Party, which was an event, let's move it down. Who would like to come to the board and move it down? Very good, very good. It says Massachusetts Patriots dressed as Mohawk Indians protested the British Tea Act by dumping crates of tea into Boston Harbor. And this happened in January 1774. Okay, class, who can tell me what this picture was? Somebody said the Boston Massacre. Very good. And now if you look at this picture here, you see that there's a young man in the middle called Crispus Attucks, who was the first African American who was killed in this battle. But let's move this particular picture out of the way and let's see what the Boston Massacre was about. It says British troops arrived in Boston to enforce custom laws. 4 workers shot by British troops stationed in Boston. Patriots labeled the killing the Boston Massacre. Remember, taxation without representation, because Britain wanted the colonists to help pay for the French and Indian War. There is another act that happened because of the Boston Massacre, and I have a short video here of the Boston Tea Party called The Intolerable Acts, which led to Paul Revere's ride. Let's watch a short video of Paul Revere.
And the British are coming.
Now the ride of Paul Revere sets the nation on its ear, and the shot at Lexington heard round the world. When the British fired in the early dawn, the War of Independence had begun. The die was cast, the rebel flag unfurled, and on to Concord marched the foe to seize the arsenal there, you know, waking folks, searching all around. till our militia stopped them in their tracks. At the old North Bridge, we turned them back and chased those redcoats back to Boston town. And the shot heard around the world was the start of the revolution. The Minutemen were ready on the move. Take your powder, take your gun, report to General Washington. Hurry, men, there's not an hour to lose. Now at famous Bunker Hill, even though we lost, it was quite a thrill. The rebel Colonel Prescott proved he was wise. Outnumbered and low on ammunition as the British stormed his position, he said, hold your fire till you see the whites of their eyes. Though the next few years were rough, General Washington's men proved they were tough. Those hungry, ragged boys would not be beat. One night they crossed the Delaware, surprised the Hessians in their lair, and at Valley Forge they just bundled up their feet. Now the shot heard round the world was the start of the revolution. The Minutemen were ready on the move. Take your blanket, take your sun, report to General Washington. We got our rights and now it's time to prove. Well, they showed such determination that they won the admiration of countries across the sea like France and Spain, who loaned the colony ships and guns and put the British on the run and the Continental Army on its feet again. And though they lost some battles too, the Americans swore they see it through. Their raiding parties kept up hit and run. At Yorktown, the British could not retreat, bottled up by Washington and the French fleet. Cornwallis surrendered, and finally we had won. Hooray! Long shot heard round the world to the end of the revolution. The Continental rabble took the day, and the father of our country beat the British there at Yorktown and brought freedom to you and me and the USA. God bless America. Let freedom ring.
So we see here some of the things that happened that allowed us to gain freedom within our country. So let's do a quick review. Here, as let me mix these around. Normally what I would do, I would mix these up for students, and I would have the students to do a matching. Who would like to come demonstrate? First, I would explain to them, move and match and place the proper picture with the proper caption. Okay. All right. And the students will move it around, and this was a form of a formative assessment. We see here at the top, it says the fight that occurred on March 1777 between a patriot mob throwing snowballs, stones, and sticks and a squad of British soldiers. We call this the Boston Massacre. Then we also see a picture here of the French and Indian War. And then we also see a picture here of the Stamp Act. This is my formative review of what we covered in class. And so this is a way that we would use matching in order for my students to learn. And then let's do this one with the rest of the class. Let's answer this multiple choice question. It says, what event was given the label shot hearts around the world? The answer is A, correct. A, correct. So let's go here and let's circle. We'll continue with lime green. We'll circle our answer. Very good. And let's do one more. We're going to do one final question here. This event happened in Boston, Massachusetts, where patriots dressed as Mohawk Indians protest the British Tea Act by dumping crates of tea into the harbor. Very good. Boston Tea Party. All right. Boston Tea Party. You guys are so intelligent. You guys are so smart. Okay, let's write that in there. Boston Tea Party. And what the students would do is they would write in here, Boston Tea Party. So you saw 3 types of assessments. And I'd like to just thank everyone for viewing and everyone for participating in this particular class. And this is my digital whiteboard assignment for Columbus State University. Thank you very much and have a great, great day.